Run, run, run. Those were the only words that went through Brisar's head as the dwarf chased after him. He looked back for a split second to see the Stort and Shout dwarf leap after him. The dwarf's armor was covered in sharp, long, metallic spikes, each dripping with the blood of his enemies. There was an intense rage in his eyes that screamed, "I will kill you." As the dwarf leapt for a tackle, Brisar thought he nearly escaped death, but a sharp pain in his ankle said otherwise. He was pulled to the ground by the dwarf, and all faded to black. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Jay the Great, and today we're doing something you don't see too often in Dungeons & Dragons. It's the Battlerager. Do y'all remember him? Well, I didn't remember the Battlerager either until I was going through my guide to the Barbarian. So today we'll prove the effectiveness of the Battlerager. Our goals for today are pretty simple. We just want 20 levels of Barbarian and deal effective damage through all levels, and take the Battlerager subclass, and of course, no magical items. So as a baseline of damage, we will be using the iconic Warlock, spamming Eldritch Blast, Hex, along with Agonizing Blast, and we'll also assume a 60% chance to hit. Now, as you can see, this is some pretty good damage. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your guide to the Battlerager. So for a race, we will be choosing the Dwarf, specifically the Mountain Dwarf. Now, as the Battlerager subclass goes, it is restricted only to the Dwarf race. Although you could probably discuss the possibility of using the Battlerager subclass with a different race with your DM, we will just be going by the basic rules. Now, the Mountain Dwarf gives us a couple great things. First, a +2 to Constitution. Secondly, a +2 to Strength. Finally, we also gain resistance to poison. For our ability scores, we'll be using Point Buy, giving us a starting strength of 14, which is raised to 16, a dexterity of 14, a constitution of 14, which is raised to 16, 10 in intelligence, because you know what? Don't make dumb characters, 12 in wisdom, and 8 in charisma. The most important part to any character is their backstory. Now, as a disclaimer, this is the backstory from my Battlerager. Your Battlerager can have whatever backstory you want. The Battlerager was born and raised a fighter. In his dwarven clan, he was taught how to fight, but he's also taught the skills of the forge. The Battlerager loved working in the forge, but his family had other plans for the future for him, and he was sent to the dwarven military. During one in particular battle, the Battlerager's platoon was absolutely decimated. The enemy was rounding up survivors and killing them, and this frightened the Battlerager to the core. He knew death would come one day, but he wasn't ready for it. So, out of fear and desperation, the Battlerager fled the battlefield, deserting his brethren. The Battlerager knew that running had disgraced his family, so he decided he'd set out and make a name for himself as a mercenary. After making some gold as a mercenary, the Battlerager forged his own unique set of armor covered in spikes, and that would be his legacy. For our background, we will be going with Soldier. At level 1, for skills, I chose Perception and Intimidation. For equipment, all you really need is a Great Axe for some sweet D12 damage. And yes, the Great Sword or a Maul does 0.5 more damage, but rolling that D12 is worth it. Also at first level, we gain access to our Rage feature. This gives us some amazing things like resistance to the most common types of damage, bonus to our damage rolls, and advantage on our strength checks. And its only real downsides are its limited uses, and that we must attack or be attacked every turn. This makes our playstyle pretty simple. We run into combat and hit things. Lastly, there is unarmored defense, but this is an ability we won't be using at all. So for our average damage per round, we'll be doing 6.9. At second level, we gain access to Danger Sense, which gives us advantage on our dexterity saving throws, as well as reckless attack, and we'll be using this most of the time as it gives us a huge boost to our damage by giving us advantage on our strength attack rolls, bringing our average damage to 9.66. Now, at third level, we get to choose our Barbarian subclass, and obviously we'll be taking the Battlerager. We gain access to Spiked Armor. Now, what this is a set of medium armor that has base AC of 14 plus 2 of our Dexterity modifier, and that'll bring our AC to 16. It's not the highest, but does Barbarian ever have high AC? Secondly, and the most important part about wearing this armor, is that we're able to make an attack as our bonus action to a target within 5 feet using our spikes, and this deals a d4 of damage plus any strength and rage modifiers. Now, this is a huge boost to our damage, bringing our average damage per round to 15.96. At level 4, we'll gain a plus 2 to our strength, bringing our average damage to 17.96. At 5th level, we gain 2 great features. The first one gives us another attack, and the second one increases our movement speed by 10 feet so we can get into combat even quicker. And now our average damage per round is raised to 28.14. This is almost double the baseline at this level. At level 6, we gain a small but useful ability called Reckless Abandon. Now, whenever we use our Reckless Attack feature, we gain temporary hit points equal to our Constitution modifier. It's not many per round, but it's a consistent healing during combat, as we should almost always be using Reckless Attack. At level 7, we gain advantage in our initiative rolls, and we can no longer be surprised, always great. At level 8, we'll gain a plus 2 bonus to our strength modifier, bringing us up to 20, and our average damage per round to 30.66. At level 9, we gain access to the brutal critical feature. Now this is a nice boost to our damage, although I'm too lazy to do the math for it. Secondly, our bonus to our rage damage increases by 1. That brings our average damage per round to 33.18. At level 10, we gain another simple but useful ability as the Battlerager charge. Now, what this does allows us to simply dash as a bonus action, so we can get into combat even quicker. At level 11, we can no longer die. At level 12, we'll be taking the Great Weapon Master feat. Now, the first part of this ability is whenever we kill a creature or score a critical hit, we can make an attack as a bonus action. Now, this attack will be stronger than our spiked armor attack, but I won't be calculating the chance of that happening. Now, the main use of this ability is we'll be taking a -5 to our hit to gain a +10 to our damage. Now, as a quick side note, our spiked armor attack won't be using the Great Weapon Master, and this will lower our chance to hit to 35% chance, but our average damage per round is increased to 37.1175. At level 13, we gain a boost to our brutal critical. At level 14, we gain access to our spiked retribution ability. So whenever a target in melee hits us with an attack, they take 3 points of piercing damage. It's not a lot of damage, but free damage is free damage. At level 15, our rage lasts forever now. At level 16, we'll be taking a +2 to our Constitution, and also our rage bonus increases by 1. Making your average damage per round 39.1125. Level 17, we gain more critical damage that I still don't want to calculate. At level 18, we no longer fail strength checks. At level 19, we'll take a +2 to our Constitution, bringing it up to 20. Now, for level 20, we'll actually be getting a nice boost to our damage, as both our strength and our Constitution are increased to 4, bringing them both to 24. And the more damage we get, the better it is, and this brings our average damage per round to 50.6475. Now, as you can see, the Battlerager is actually a really good subclass for the Barbarian, as one negative of the Barbarian that you hear quite often is that they can't actually compete at higher levels. Now, looking at this graph here, the Barbarian is still above the baseline of damage. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Jay the Great, and I'm signing out.